G'day fellas and welcome to Beyond All Reason. We are here with another Beyond All Reason video, and boy oh boy do I have something special for you today. I was playing a game on this map here and I was sitting up in the pocket. I didn't get my position that I love normally getting. I was sitting down here and my ally, I saw him and he was going for nukes. And I was like, nukes are pretty cool. I like that idea, but what happens if they get anti-nukes? And well, he came up with this brilliant response. Basically, you just avoid the guy that's got anti-nuke. And I'm like, that's an interesting idea. But what if we took it one step further? And what if we just said, how about we just beat him to anti-nuke? Let's run with that. So obviously you guys would or should or could be familiar with the previous video that I posted on this map where I was talking about a strategy that I was doing where we rushed T3 and we went straight into Marauders. And obviously that's, you know, it's a strategy that's pretty dependent on your teammates. And to be honest, a lot of these strategies are quite dependent on your teammates and whether they're able to perform the things that they need to do to help facilitate the victory. Even with this strategy that we're doing today, each member of the team has got their own specific role. As an example, we can see back here. So Kofu, he's going to be going eco. He's going to be providing the T2 to everybody. We've got Concept Chaos, who's playing as air, and he's going to be dealing with any potential air threat from the enemy. And he's also going to be providing me with scouts for my nuclear attack. Whereas on the front line, these three sneaky little devils over here, these guys are all just going to be making T1 units. That's it. Spam out T1 units, as many as you can, towards the front line. And everybody got on board. Now, I don't know why everybody got on board. Normally when I play these online multiplayer games, everybody is just at each other's throat, but it seems like everyone was quite willing to go for it. So it's your standard stuff that we're doing. Opening up the same way that we always do. We're going to be throwing down and our construction turrets, and one of the things that I have begun working on is just specifically avoiding this bad boy right here. Instead of reclaiming it, I'm just like, you know what, I'm just not going to build there, because it's like, I've got plenty of space when you think about it, right? Like I can just, all of this is my space, because Spartan's going to be over in the water. He's having a great time. Obviously he's going up against Blackwater, and we should introduce our players for today, because we're up against some pretty strong opponents. We've got Blackwater, who's by far the best player in the lobby. He's going to be sitting here playing as, looks like the Armada by the looks of it. So in the color blue. And this is really interesting. I don't know why. Maybe somebody, if you know the answer, you can let me know. All the really good team game players that I was watching play on this map, I'm talking like true skill rating 40 plus. Every single one of them takes this spot. I don't know why that is. I would suspect it's because you would think that you're going to win the side of water, that your team has access to the beach. So we can see here Spartan has access to the beach. He's very close spawning to it. So naturally he has a bit of a rush advantage, and you can see Blackwater is now going to be in a little bit of a problem. He manages to get the harpoon down though, and that's going to be able to buy him time here. And I think that might be the reason why, because then instead of having one water, you have access to two water. But I really feel like the impact that allows you, if you've got the ability to have that impact, then I feel like you're quite limited from that role. I definitely feel like this is the key position, just simply because you've got access to this geothermal power plant. It really feels like when you're in this spot, you're just so much faster than everybody else. It feels like I'm cheating. That's how much faster I am than everybody else. And you will see that today reflected in the strategies. Now, one thing to note before we go any further, you will see from this Armada commander wreckage down here that there's only 1,250 metal on it, which means that we're playing with the commander update. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be coming to the live version of the game, you know, the main update, but this is an option that you've got in the lobby. Some people play with it on, some people don't. This game, it had it on, and I was like, well, I'm not going to say no to a game just because it's got that update. I want to see what it's like, see how it feels, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't notice much of a difference. We can see right now, we are going to T2. Our commander is still yet to hit the explosion just yet, about to pop it out, and we're already about, what are we sitting at? 63% of the way through. So commander's going to go down. And we do stall out quite a bit on the metal, and I think watching this back, I would change the way that I do things. So instead of going for these extra nano turrets, you can see I put down quite a few of them. I would have to readjust that because we do very quickly eat all that metal up. But it'd be a very simple thing, right? Because once our first metal extractor is down, or advanced metal extractor is down, we'd be absolutely fine. So already I can see so many improvements as to how I can make this faster. Not to mention if I do this with that full 2,000 metal. You got to think about about the difference between that 750 metal and getting up that Armageddon. I think it's called the Armageddon. Let me double check. Yeah, the Armageddon. It would make a significant difference. I reckon I could probably even get it a minute faster on the version that doesn't have the commander update. But anyway, you can see that we're stalling out quite a little bit over here. Meanwhile, over on the east front, Blackwater has put a foot down over here. Over on the north side, so you can see that we've got Kaztet, who is completely dominating the water over here. I actually used to play Age of Empires 3 with a guy called Le Castet, so I wondered maybe that's a French word or something. Obviously, you can see he's got that little French flag down there. So now we're going to reclaim that bot lab now that we've got our advanced bot out, now that we've got our metal storage. And of course, our Lazarus are always going to be getting in the ways, which they just love to do. And the key here is that we just want to hold the front. That's why I said, you know, all three players, just please hold the front. That's the most important thing. The main threat that I've got in this position here is from hovercraft. So hovers maybe from this player or from this player coming in and around and then attacking. So this is something I'm throwing up on how to possibly defend against it. I'm thinking I might throw down like a couple of, maybe even Dragon's Teeth could potentially work, because the main threat is going to be the advanced geothermal power plant. So if I can just maybe throw Dragon's Teeth around that might be able to protect it. You can see here Kofu saying it's com update. And that I think it's actually at that point where I realized, oh, that's where all my metal was. I was kind of wondering where was that metal from. Where was that metal going? So once again, we're just making sure that we are walking around, tapping all of the buildings with our construction bot. We leave him here a little bit too long, and unfortunately, we once again delay our build. But we're still running. You know, we're still ahead of schedule now. When it comes to nuking people, the timeline I've been given, and obviously, you know, this is different for everybody. Maybe if I speak with other people, they'll tell me different timelines. It's 12 minutes. They say you should have your anti-nuke up by 12 minutes. Now, that doesn't mean that you have the anti-nuke missile ready by 12 minutes. That means anti-nuke should be there, completed at 12 minutes, and you should be safe from all nuke attacks. Now, I noticed in the game that I played, I mentioned before that I had a gentleman, a little bit of a nuclear scoundrel, I guess you could call him, sitting down in this bottom position, and he was nuking everybody, but his nukes were coming in at like 14 minutes. I think the first nuke hit, 14 and a half, something around that. So we're going to be looking to break that record. I don't, maybe it's a record for nukes that I've seen, at least up until this game. So once again, we're just following the same thing. And one of the other things that we're doing is we're minimizing the amount of metal that we're using. Metal is going to be the main restrictor here. If we take a look at our Armageddon, it's 8,000 metal. That's a lot of metal. So what we're doing is, instead of throwing down the advanced energy converter, which is 600 energy into 10 metal, we're throwing down just the normal basic energy converters. They're 70 energy into 1 metal, so they're not as efficient, but they only cost 1 metal. And that's going to allow us to put that extra 380, well, technically it works out to be like 370 metal into the Armageddon. And when you think about it, 370 metal, okay, if I'm on 48 metal, 370 metal works out to be like, what? We're talking 7 seconds, 8 seconds right there. So 8 seconds could be the difference between anti-nuke coming online and not coming online. And further to that point, commander update, I mean, if you would just take those numbers and say 50 metal per minute or per second, you're already talking just in that about, what, 15 seconds of an increase in time as well. So there's lots of little ways that you could make this even faster. And to be honest, I'll probably post an update video just with the nuke to see how fast I can get it, because this is disgusting. There's some pretty good comments a little bit later on in the replay that we'll see from this. So the Armageddon is coming up. So at the moment, 72% complete. We're not even 9 minutes through this game yet. So this feels pretty early to me. I don't know too much about it. Over on the other side of the map, as you can see, we've now got the Citadel coming down for David Blade here. So he's putting it down pretty early. This is 9 minutes, right? Like, if I'm thinking about 9 minutes, I've just got my fusion reactor down. I've just got my, you know, I'm looking to go into my APHIS. I normally don't build my anti-nuke until after my APHIS. But now I'm like, after seeing what I'm about to do, I'm like, I got to start building this anti-nuke earlier. 93%, 94%. We're coming in just shy of 9 minutes 30. Hopefully, depending on what we're doing. But you can see we're reclaiming. Reclaim all the metal. And we're up at 9 minutes 30 on the dot. Armageddon is in. Now, I don't know how long it takes to make this missile, but it felt like a really long time. I was waiting like I think about 90 seconds, at least 90 seconds. It felt like a really, really long time. And I was doing my best to make sure that I wasn't spending my resources. This is a key factor as well. You've got to remember that your Armageddon is using resources. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can see down here, 8.3 metal, 1,042 energy. So if you start using those resources, then it will slow that production down. We do throw some anti-air turrets down just simply because I heard aircraft detected. And I was like, okay, we got to respond straight away. We see some Finks coming in. They're called Blinks in this game. They're called Finks back in TA. And immediately I'm very, very fearful about what potentially lies in wait. It is some bombers coming in, but luckily they hit this top side. But I'm just throwing down all these nettles just in case. And you can see we're just still trying to maintain 100% uptime on this. Do not want to have this idling at all. And I've asked my ally. Now, normally you can do this yourself. It doesn't really affect you that much. But because I've got concept going for air anyway, I just said, well, hey, can you just make 10 scouts and just give them to me? So we're right on board with our perspective, just so you can see exactly how we throw them out. And the main thing we're looking for here is anti-nuke and anybody who's teching like a madman. That's the main thing that we're looking for. We're looking for those big clumps of bases. They do a really good job of shutting down our scouting. We can see right here, they do pick us up here with a thistle. But fortunately, up towards this top side, the last Fink remains. It's right here. And he gets into the base and we spot it and we see, okay, there's some good tech up here. But, oh, there's my anti-nuke and it's just about finished. Boy, do I have bad news for you, my friend, because we're almost done on this missile. And it's only going to be a couple of seconds before it is barreling down the hatches at you. Barely 11 minutes into this game. Incredibly quick, at least from what I've seen. This is a pretty crazy timing, right? Because you look at this, he's got his anti-nuke up at 11 minutes and 20 seconds. He's happy with himself. But unfortunately, nuclear launch detected. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is time. And as you can see me saying right there, too late for them. And David pointing out, not ready. A little bit of a discussion behind the scenes here. They ask, did they scout it? Not sure if he scouted it. But the truth is, I scouted it. We saw it. Now, we didn't hit the entirety of the base. I'm not sure how my nuke placement was. I still don't know what the damage fall-off radiuses of our nuke... I don't know what the damage fall-off radius of a nuke is just yet. I probably need to test that if I'm going to be running this strategy. But... you know, we hit the important thing, which is the anti-nuke, right as it was coming up. And now we're moving on to our second nuke. And now the question is, who do we hit next? Isn't that always that's such a fun follow-up question? Because you're kind of throwing out, right, like, okay, who's got anti-nuke, who doesn't have anti-nuke? And there's only so much information that you can deal with, right? So at this point, over on this east side, we don't know too much about Blackwater's base, but I know that he's a really good player. So there's a really high chance he's going to be going for anti-nuke. And if we take a look here, you can see that he's got it queued up. It's ready to go. So his anti-nuke is going to be imminent. Now, that doesn't mean that this nuke wouldn't have hit him. It just means that we've got bigger priorities. And that's this guy right here who's decided... I like that Salad Whore has just decided, you know what? I'm not even going to try and make anti-nuke. I'm just going to hope he doesn't hit me. And unfortunately for Salador, we don't take that advice, or we don't take that route. We are going to be hitting Salador. Meanwhile, on the front, huge shout out to these guys. These guys are actually holding it down like madmen. You can see all three of them just pumping out all these T1 units non-stop into here. We've got the shell shockers roaming around. And that's what's important, right? Like they're holding down the front. They're not letting anything through. And now, nuke number 2, about to come through. Let's go. And from here, it's pretty much just nuking everybody until they're all dead, until they give up. Behind this, I mean, you've got other options that you can do. The best way I've found to do it is just wait until your metal starts to stack up. And there's Kofu asking, where's the nuke? Blackwater saying, it's me now. It's not. Don't worry, Blackwater. It's not. We've got one for you later, though. Don't worry. We don't actually. Anyway, nuke coming across, and it's going to be right to the back. Beautiful little nuke back here. And we hit everything. It's good night, sweet prince. Oh, he was actually making anti-nuke for another 4 minutes. That was a bold strategy. So realistically, at this point, it's a pretty simple cleanup game. You're just nuking everybody. That's it. And it makes it really... It's very fun and simple. And even if we take a look right now at the stats, you can see energy produced. We're king. Metal produced. We are king. even though we're nuking, even though we're not investing any further into our economy, we're still #1. And it all goes back to this geothermal. This is what makes it so damn powerful. And by the same token, this is what makes it incredibly weak. So I'm confident that once people start realizing that, hey, maybe not realizing, I shouldn't use that word, but perhaps if the meta does change and people start looking to exploit this position in a little bit more of a way like this, perhaps we will see players, you know, looking to target this down. I am already aware that it's quite a significant target. And who knows, maybe instead we look to go into the Prude. That could be an option, because realistically, it's not a huge difference between the two. I mean, all I do is just go Prude and add in a couple of extra... I don't know, maybe I just make a few more wind gens? I think that's probably the case. Let's actually, can we compare the pair right now? Where is my my T2 bot? Did I eat him? Don't tell me. Oh, there he is. So the Prude is the safe geothermal power plant. So it's 1150 compared to the 1600. So it's actually a discount as well. It's about the same energy, but definitely not the same energy produced. It's only 500 difference, which might seem like a lot. It is a lot. That's a lot of energy. Yeah, that's actually a pretty big amount. I mean, realistically, we've done our best to kind of like minimize it. I think the problem is even if this blows up, I'm pretty sure it still hits the nanos here. I'm not 100% sure. I still need to test the exact radius, but it does so much damage, that thing. It is absolutely crazy. So now we're going to be hitting for the next target. Anti-nuke has gone down. Over here, it was taken out by one of our allies, but it wouldn't have made a difference. It wasn't going to be ready anyway, and we hit another player, and they were actually building anti-nuke as well. And this is kind of the problem, right? Where everyone's just trying to catch up to you. And the consequence of getting this up so quick is that every subsequent nuke is faster as well. So think about that from the perspective of, right, like let's say your first nuke is at 15 minutes. Your next nuke might be at 17 or 19. I don't know exactly how long it takes to make these nukes. But it's going to be as late as the first one is, plus however many minutes it takes. Whereas the sooner you get that nuke down, not only are you going to be beating that anti-nuke, but your follow-up nukes are going to be beating those anti-nukes. And remember that your enemies are going to be less scaled at that point. So that's where the value from this really comes in. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if like people get to the point where they're just like fully just boxing this in, doing their best to try and protect it as much as they can, keep everything online. You know, throwing up just only anti-air, only finks. I guess another way that you could look to try and counter this is if you deny scouting. But then when it comes to denying scouting, I mean, realistically, I can always look to try and put some finks around the top side of the map, around the bottom side of the map, always try and get through like that. And there are spaces that can come through. The main thing I'm looking for is where's the anti-nuke up here, and where's the best place to land that big boy. So we push forward towards the middle. They've got an Intimidator, or a Basilisk, as it's known in Beyond All Reason. Back in the old days, these guys used to be known as Intimidators. We'd call them Timmy. Say he's got 6 Timmys. Watch out. Not really. You wouldn't have 6 Timmys. That's a lot of Timmys. You might have 2, though. Yeah, so at this point... And another interesting thing to note, in Beyond All Reason, the range of the Basilisk is actually shorter than the range of the... what's it called? The Calamity. Back in Total Annihilation, it's the other way around. The Calamity had the shorter range. Though technically you could use a bug to make it really, really long range. You could do it with both. So anyway, we spot that out, and I kind of get a little bit worried. I see the Intimidator, I'm like, okay, all it takes is one shot to land over here, and I'm completely dead. I didn't realize that I've got this in front, but I'm just going to nuke the front. And so we just hit the front, we clear it out, and then we push through. And that's pretty much it. At this point, this is game. So at this point, the game is well and truly over. There was a funny comment in here. I think it might be a little bit later on, but it's words to the effect of, damn, that nuke was so fast, I think it was 3 players feeding into the one. That was how quick this nuke was. So, I mean, I've seen some pretty quick nuke rushes. I want to know, is this the quickest you've seen? Can we get it quicker? I'm confident that we can. Because I'm just having so much fun. Playing with nukes is just, it's so easy, man. It's so interactive and fun. Another nuke. Indeed, another nuke coming for you, mate. But yeah, I feel like nukes are obviously really strong. It's a huge investment. It obviously makes you a massive target as well, because you're kind of just sitting out here, not really doing a whole lot. But realistically, it seems like a pretty solid strategy, especially compared to the T3. I would say the T3 is very much a gamble. Whereas when you talk about the nukes, it's not. Because even if you scout anti-nuke, right? Like, even if we scout this anti-nuke coming up, that's fine. I'll just go somewhere else. And, you know, I'll get a couple of hovers to come around and hit that. But there we go. Third nuke rush in a row on this map, says Sophie. She's not having a good day. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, this insight, this guide to a pretty ridiculous nuke rush that you can get away with on this map. I'm a big fan of this position. I think this is by far the best position if you want to try and carry your team. It allows you to do that. And yeah, other than that, we'll leave it there. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.